This story was a scary one that happened to my family in the early 90s when I was just a kid. At that time, my father was a truck driver. This job was quite difficult. My whole family lived off of my father's truck driving job. Sometimes, I got to go with my dad to deliver packages. I enjoyed looking at the scenery on both sides of the road. And this story happened at the end of October. At that time, the weather also became much colder. At breakfast that day, my family was eating together. My father said he had urgent business and went to town to pick up the packages. It took about 4 hours by truck from our house to the town center. It meant that my father would depart in the morning and return in the afternoon of the same day. My father started getting on the truck and drove away after breakfast that day. He seemed to be in a hurry. I also walked to school because my house was also quite close to the school. When I got home from school, the door was open. I was curious about what had happened, but it was already dark. My father should have been home by that time, but I looked around and everything was quiet. I didn't see my father's truck in the yard either. The courtyard was eerily quiet. I went into the house and asked my mother, "Mom, is Dad still coming home at this hour?" Both mother and I didn't know what was going on. At that time, no one in my house had a cell phone, so I could not contact my father. My mom and I decided to have dinner while waiting for my father to come home. But my father never came home so late, no matter how far he went. I waited until after 9 o'clock at night and still did not see my father. Both my mother and I were extremely worried about him at this time. My mother looked at her watch for a moment and began to worry about my father. I didn't know what was happening to him. I also wanted to wait until my father came home before I became too worried. But because I had to go to school the following day, my mother asked me to go to bed early. She said she would stay awake waiting for my father to come home. Entering the room, I fell asleep after a long, tiring day. I did not hear my father's truck that night. The next day, just as dawn appeared, I heard my father return. My mother's voice didn't sound right. Maybe something happened. I put on my clothes and went out to see what was happening. As I opened the door ajar and looked outside, my father looked very lost, clutching his shoulder himself and shaking violently. His whole body was haggard. His face was pale. My mother helped my father to bed and covered him with a blanket to keep him from the cold. Not until my father calmed down, my mother asked him what had happened. He said he had an experience with something very terrible and haunting. My mother and I were extremely scared when we heard his story from the previous night. My father said that his delivery went well at first. Packages were delivered to the place according to the agreed time. My father was an experienced driver, so it was not difficult to run long distances with him. But the consignee had a problem. There were no factory workers to unload during the holiday. With no other choice, my father could only wait outside for someone to unload it all. My father waited outside for hours. He was an impatient man, so eventually went inside to the security room. The security guard called several times but couldn't contact anyone. My dad was in a hurry because he didn't want to drive home when it was already getting dark. He waited nearly 4 hours, and some workers came to unload the packages. But when my father returned, it was already dark. The scene outside was eerily quiet. Drivers were afraid to cross this deserted road at night. That road wasn't very empty, but many people stuck couldn't get out. My father was afraid because many drivers had encountered strange things on the road at night. He initially calculated that he could get there before dark, but his idea was delayed in the end. When my father thought he was safely past the dangerous spot, the truck suddenly shut down. His truck stopped on a slope. It was pitch black outside at that time. My father was trying to restart the truck, but to no avail. It remained motionless and did not move. But no matter how hard he turned the key, it wouldn't start. There was nothing he could do about it, so he got out of the truck to check out what was happening. but found no damage. My dad tried a few more times to start the truck, but it wouldn't work. There were no other trucks passing at that time of dead night. My father started sweating and realized that something was wrong. The temperature outside was dropping. He glanced through the truck window as if he had a premonition that something was wrong. Fog started gathering up outside. The fog made the truck windows foggy. He panicked. He knew something was wrong. His fingers began to freeze. My father didn't dare to get out of the truck. He hugged his shoulders and crouched in the car. After a while, more and more cold air rushed into the truck, making him feel cold. He saw someone walking past outside the window. As he wiped the fog off of the truck window, he wanted to call for help outside. But when he looked outside and saw people, he realized they were covered with fog up onto their heads. Everyone's faces was purple. They did not look like living people. They suddenly saw my father and rushed towards him very quickly. My father quickly pulled the truck door tight and locked it. He was so scared. People outside were trying to knock on the door to get inside. But my father was scared and he hid in the truck and did not dare to go near the window. More and more of these people were getting closer to the truck and they were screaming things. These ghosts were cold, constantly banging their hands on the glass window to ask to go inside. Fear surrounded my father. It was the first time he encountered such a scary thing. My dad was huddled in the truck and it was cold. Outside the car there were a lot of scary people. What to do? My dad felt like he was frozen. He thought he would freeze to death in his truck that night. Then, my dad heard someone knock on the window and call him. He opened his eyes and saw that it was a passing driver. The driver saw my father stop and not move, so he ran over to see if anything was wrong with him. And that is what saved my father's life. What was stranger than that was that the truck started up suddenly, and my father returned home safely. The other man said that if my father waited a little longer, he would most likely suffer the same fate as the frozen ghosts.